aren't live with us. Okay. Um, I'm hopefully sharing all of this music this morning has been okay. Maybe a welcome break from things. And I know that the season requires us to sing, right? It invites us to sing. I want to ask you, this is a little bit rhetorical, and you can share a little bit during the talk back time if you like. When have you burst into song spontaneously? Do you remember an occasion, and maybe you're like me, you always got music going through your head, but I'm talking about occasions that prompt you to sing. Those could be spontaneous, like I do remember when my daughter Anna was born, and almost immediately we started singing lullabies, right? We were very inspired, but also scared, and we wanted her to stop crying. And we didn't know how to do that, so we went into singing. And of course, we had always sung, even when we were expecting her. So we went to this thing we thought was going to be familiar, but also we felt inspired to sing. We felt like this is an occasion for a song. Like I could talk to the baby, but like, no, the baby needs rhythm and it needs melody. She needs rhythm and melody, and the occasion causes me to want to add some flavor and some shape and some emotion to the matter. Can't just be sitting over here in my thumbs, like I got to be feeling. It's a time for feeling. So there's that kind of stuff. Maybe you have other, maybe you remember music in a different way. Yeah, so when you go to a sporting event, you sing the national anthem. That's one way in which you could, I guess you could recite the poem, but like, no, it's music. It's meant to be sung. It's meant to have your breath, your spirit, if you're that kind of person. It's meant to have your spirit into the song. You can't just speak it. You gotta put some extra breath into it. This is switching countries for a moment. I watch Premier League soccer over in England. And for the last several months, of course, they've been playing soccer in empty stadiums. And only in the last few weeks, they've started letting fans into the stadiums. And they're distanced, they're masked, and it's like, they can only have a couple thousand people. But one of the first ones was Liverpool. It doesn't matter if you know anything about them, but they have a famous song that they sing at the beginning of their matches. Everybody sings "You Never Walk Alone," and that's their team song, and it's on their logo of their team. And so this team that's been playing in empty stadiums, for some reason the broadcasters decided it was appropriate for us to broadcast the entire song of everybody telling the team that you never walk alone, but maybe also the team giving an occasion to have all of these people who've been quarantined and separated. Oh, there's time for us to come. There is a time in which we can come together, and we have a song, "You Never Walk Alone," and you have not been walking alone. Even if it's been lonely, you've not actually been walking alone. And so maybe you have occasions in your life of music that has arisen at the right time. If I were to pick another scripture for us, and I'm not going to read it, but just going to describe it to you. The first chapter of Matthew is the genealogy of Jesus. And you can get that out and read it later if you want. It's a series of names, and I think we're far enough removed in history to like where it doesn't feel like it makes a difference to us. One thing that's weird about this genealogy is that it's 14 generations between Adam and I forget who. Then another 14 generations and then another 14 generations until we get to Jesus. And so there's this kind of understanding of history of time that all the way from Adam to Jesus, there's 14 generations, 14 generations, 14 generations. And it's not only a family tree, but there's this little kind of literary device going on in which you understand, okay, well, Adam was at the beginning, and the 14th one was Abraham, I think. And then there was the exile, and then from the exile to Jesus. And so you get this kind of understanding like, okay, this is a moment in history. I mean, the first moment of history was creation. That's the first moment of history. And then this arrival of Jesus is a lot like that first part of history in which creation happened. There was creation, there was the promise of Israel, then there was the restoration of Israel. And so Jesus is a lot, almost like the renewal of creation itself. And I think if there ever was a moment to celebrate or to sing about the renewal of to celebrate and sing the renewal of creation is one of those good moments that not only deserves our attention, but it deserves our breath and our spirit. And so we get to this song of Mary, and it's a song of things turning upside down. Those who are lofty will be brought down low, and those who are low are going to be brought up. There's going to be a reversal of fortunes, and depending on where you exist in the current fortune, that may determine how you experience this next thing, which is Jesus. Nevertheless, Jesus inspires singing, not just in his mom. I mean, every mother is inspired by their children to sing, but we have the occasion to sing. I feel like I'm taking some comfort from this genealogy this week, paired with this notion of singing and joy in the following way. I don't know if this is one of those 14 generations things, and I don't want to, but it feels like because we've been inside for what feels like a forever, because we've been apart, because we've been working really hard to maintain relationships in all of this struggle, I want to know what's coming up. I want to know what the resolution is. I want to know when can we get back together? And when can we get into whatever the new next reality is going to be? When can we end this situation and return to community with each other? And Mary, at the moment that she sings this song, she doesn't yet know what's going to happen. She knows she knows in the macro what's going to happen. She knows that God's doing great things. She knows that something special is going to happen, but I don't know. I can't determine if she understands all the details. I certainly don't think she fully understands death and resurrection of her child. The great thing about church, the great thing about our faith, the great thing about taking this story every year and just getting it down to the micro minutes is that we get to pause and understand what's happening in a given moment. So before we worry so much about what happens to Jesus in the end, on this particular Sunday, we get to kind of join Mary and recognize that there is there are songs to be sung. There are songs that will be sung, not only in this room, not only in all the churches, but in your life. There will be occasions in which breaking into song is the only appropriate response. And so this is a Sunday of joy, and I guess we had a Hope Sunday two weeks ago, and we had a Peace Sunday, and next week we'll have the Love Sunday. But I can't break them apart. They're all part of the same wreath. They're all part of the same wreath. They're all part of the same story, that God is doing new things, even if you feel like you wish God would hurry up. And there will be occasion for singing. So while we are in our own spaces, I'm going to invite you to warm up your voices. One more story. Hope it's not too long. When I was in college, we had a visiting girls choir from Russia. Sokoyaka was their name, and their names sound Japanese, but they were Russian girls, and they were the best choir I have ever heard. And they came and sang at our college. They did a tour, and our choir sang with them the national anthem at the King College basketball game, and they also did a chapel service. And what's interesting, because these are girls raised in the Soviet Union, but now, like, their country is completely topsy-turvy, right? But what I remember most about them was their warm-ups. Their warm-up. Their concert in chapel included their 5 minutes of warming up their voices to get ready to be basically angels of sound. And they did a lot of warming up, not only their voices, but their lips. And they would do the scales with their lips. And we thought it was funny until they actually got to the song and realized they needed their voice warmed up. They needed their lips warmed up. They needed their entire being warmed up, so that when it came time to sing praises, they were ready. Every part of them were ready to sing. One thing I remember about that group is that when they came to sing the national anthem, our national anthem, of course, being raised in the Soviet Union, they learned they called our national anthem the American prayer. And all of us kids from the hills, we were almost all kids from the hills. We're like, oh, and we learned from them the sanctity of the national anthem. All of that to say, we're in a moment of history. And whatever will emerge, I trust in the goodness of God. I trust in the goodness of God's people. I trust that God is doing great things. See, I am making all things new. God told Isaiah to tell the Israelites a long, long, long time ago. And isn't God still doing new things? And so maybe this week, maybe you can warm up your voice. Maybe you can warm up your lips for whatever new song emerges in due time. May that be so for you and for me. Thanks be to God.